We've also got another big guest tonight. Standing by, we have comedian, podcaster, Adam Carolla is here to discuss his new book. Of course, his time co-hosting Loveline with Dr. Drew. Dr. Drew, are you ready for this?
Who is this guy?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, I believe I am.
Okay. It's going to be a lot of fun. We've been waiting for that. Adam Carolla, of course, comedian, podcaster, radio host, and multiple best-selling book author. He has a new book out, I'm Your Emotional Support Animal. By that, he is referencing Dr. Drew, of course. Navigating our all-woke, no-joke culture. Adam Carolla joins us now. Of course, the two of them hosted Loveline together from 95 to 2005. They continue to be close friends and to give each other
podcast most days.
Yeah, podcast together most days. Adam, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
I guess let's start by talking about your book and sort of the bottom line message you're trying to make, using support animals as sort of a symbol for what's happening broader in our culture.
Well, that's my real dog. His name is Phil. He's a 110-pound black lab, and I thought it'd be funny. I got him in, and maybe I could get him a SAG card if I got him on the cover of the book. I've just been noticing that all roads lead to narcissism these days, and I've been noticing, because I travel a lot more dogs at a lot more airports, which means a lot more narcissists. There's nothing physically going on or even emotionally going on with these people. And then I realized we also started declaring war on comedians, jokes, commentators, folks that tweet. It's a big step in the wrong direction, and it doesn't work if you backpedal and apologize, because the group that wants you to apologize doesn't really want you to apologize. They just want dominion over you. They want you to bow in front of them, and I would suggest there's not enough bowing that you could do that would ever satisfy these people. So if you're a comedian or you're just a citizen, say something and don't apologize for it.
Yeah, and this week, actually next week on our podcast, you and I dug in a little bit to this idea that we've changed. The world has changed. I don't know that we've changed. What do you say to people that say, Adam, you've changed?
Well, first off, I say, you're welcome. Like, I like to change. I want to evolve. I don't think anyone wants to be locked off, and we all know the old uncle who's set in his ways. We don't want to end up being like that guy. But I haven't changed fundamentally. I think that's what we're saying. I started a family. I got a little older, a little wiser, a little more conservative. I became more responsible. But I haven't fundamentally changed in anything I've said in 25 years into a microphone. Take care of yourself, take care of your family, take care of your community. The government's not going to do a good job taking care of you. And you really have to look out for yourself and look out for your own. And if families are broken, there's going to be trouble. And this seems to be some sort of new subject, but Dr. Drew and I have been talking to people from broken families for 25 years. Yeah. I mean, literally, it was the mid-90s. Everyone tries to turn it into a cultural thing or a race thing. It wasn't that. It's just when we talk to young girls and young boys who came from chaotic, broken families, they had a lot of problems.
Yeah, and Elex, he said, all roads lead to narcissism, and we're really using the term technically, which is people get these traumatic injuries in childhood, they end up with narcissistic traits, and we all have them now because our families have been disrupted. There's been lots of trauma. It's been that's our ongoing pandemic that Adam and I had a ringside seat on for 10 years.
And I know, Adam, when you talk about don't apologize, I know you've talked about the fact that you have apologized, like, to your daughter before for raising your voice to her, or other people that you really do care about in your life. I think you're more referencing, like some of these, the Twitter mob and not giving in to them. But on that family issue, what do we do about that, guys?
Well, I think the first thing we do is we recognize it for the problem that it is. I said to Dr. Drew when I was talking to him that the family is sort of like a drug. It's like a bad drug or bad drug medication reaction, and then everything else is a side effect. Prisons, addictions, bad grades, depression, suicide, violence, unemployment. It's all just a side effect of this bad drug. And what we do is we chase the side effect. And Drew, as a physician, you wouldn't chase the side effect. You would start focusing on the drug that was creating this multitude of side effects. So what we first do is recognize it and discuss it. We talk about everything. We need to reform the prison systems. We need to reform the school systems, politicians, cops. That's all stuff that's outside. We need to go to the inside and start talking about this truthfully. And whenever someone says we need to have an honest conversation, that's the conversation we need to have. And that's a conversation nobody ever has and no politician will ever touch that because it's the third rail.
And it's interesting, while we were watching this happening, and it was a large part of the content of Loveline after all those years, people, my profession was actually resistant to that notion. And then finally, the famous Kaiser Adverse Childhood Experience study came in. And now it's absolutely axiomatic that if you have 3 or more adverse childhood experiences, including things like divorce or an alcoholic parent, these things add up to serious mental health consequences and addiction. And if you have 5 or more, it's on.
Wow. All right. Well, coming up, we're going to continue this conversation. Of course, for years, Loveline, one of LA's most popular radio call-in programs, hosted by the two of you. Look how good you. I think you guys look. I think you look better now. Well, we're going to talk about their time on that show, and then you're going to answer my questions on relationships because I need help. I did as a 12-year-old, and I still do.
Right on.
At least 1 in 5 teenagers, adolescents, are going to get an STD. It's an extremely important issue.
Could it be that just one guy has all of them and it's skewing?
From 1995 2005, Adam Carolla, Dr. Drew dominated LA airways with their show on life, love, relationships. Of course, Loveline, a version ran on MTV from 96 to 2000. We welcome back Adam Carolla to the conversation. Since I finally have you guys, I have this rash that I want. No,
that's me. I'm not sure Adam can do much with a rash.
No, let's talk since we've got the Loveline guys back together. I have a question for both of you, just about relationships in this moment, in this era of coronavirus, when you're supposed to be socially distant. I mean, it's quite a time to be single or a time to be in a relationship. It's a real test.
Well, I've got young, kids, 20-somethings, and it's a double hit. The males were particularly already very anxious to be seen as appropriate because of the Me Too awareness. And then you add to that now COVID, where everybody's a potential infecting agent. It's nearly impossible. And a lot of kids are just opting out. Adam?
Yeah, it's interesting. So it kind of depends where you're at when we're at. I thought to myself, well, this whole COVID-19 thing, it's a real bummer, but it's not too bad for me because I live in a big house and I have a good job and everything's cool. But if it had hit when I was 23, I'd be locked in a sweat box with 3 roommates and no air conditioning and no money and no income and driving a pickup truck with no headrest. So it's a lot of this is sort of timing, like you talk to people who have a country home and they left from New York to their country home in Virginia a week before the lockdown, and you go, oh my God, what perfect timing. So, for those of us who are in a relationship and married, it doesn't affect those who are outside of one, but also.
But doesn't it? Isn't it causing a lot of people that are married to spend a lot more time with their loved one, which can either be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on the status of your relationship?
Very true.
Well, but again, as I've always said, like the key to a good relationship is 2 TiVos and a lot of square footage. I don't even know.
Never been more important than now. Hey, do me a favor, Adam. Tell our viewers about your history. I'm not sure they know what you came up through North Hollywood. Just give them a little biographical sketch.
I come from a pretty broken family, welfare, food stamps, and a lot of chaos, and a lot of poverty and a lot of discomfort. So I got to look at it firsthand. And I did what a lot of people don't do, which is I saw my family, I studied my family, and I thought that's never going to happen to me. So I intentionally waited to have kids. I focused on my career in my 20s before I sort of had kids and got married and got locked into something where I couldn't dedicate time to doing comedy. And, you know, in a way, like your career, it's a kind of a selfish endeavor. And if you have 3 kids and a wife, then you can no longer be selfish. So, you know, you have to go to work and you have to pay the bills and you can't go take classes at night and you can't go out and do stand-up and open mics and things like that. You need to be home. You need to take care of your family. So, you know, my piece of advice for everyone is, by the way, since, I don't know, 50 is the new 30 now, put that stuff off, get your career squared away, and then start your family.
Well, it's a lot more complicated for women who have the biological clock that's ticking.
But they can take control of that now if you can afford it, is the big problem.
Is the eggs is what he's referencing, freezing your eggs. There are some companies that are now paying to do that as well. All right, up next, Adam, I want your advice for co-hosting a show with Dr. Drew. We'll have that when we come back. Back with Dr. Drew's other longtime co-host, Adam Carolla. You have way more experience working with him than I do. What's your advice for working with Dr. Drew?
I'm buckled in.
You have to get his phone away from him, because what happens is somebody sends him a tweet telling him Dr. Doolittle knows more than he does, and then he spends the entire show staring at his lap, trying to figure out if someone else is talking about him online. And then his wife starts IMing him, and the next thing you know, he's completely checked out of the program. So get the phone. Where's the phone now, Drew? On your lap, on the table. Where's the phone?
I have a computer here. It's worse. It's worse, Adam. If you stuck a computer in front of me during our show, that would be bad time.
Good advice. Very true. All right, Adam, thank you so much.